Hi, bookish friends. This is our last episode of 2025, which is insane. Honestly, the year flew by, and I have Midnight, my co host, here on my lap. I have some books that are my favorite books of 2025. I have about 29 books that are coming out in 2026 that I cannot wait to share with you all that I am excited to read. I also took some notes from my Instagram about books that listeners are excited to read as well going into 2026. So, here are a few things we're doing this episode. One, we are going through 10 of my favorite books from this year. Two, we are going to dive into some books that I'm going to be reading, and I'm so excited to discuss that. I may have an arc or two that I am going to be reading that I'm just beyond excited to share. Hopefully, we'll do some interviews with those authors very soon, and they'll be out in the new year. And the last thing is so many books coming out in 2026. I have an entire list. They'll all be in the show notes below, along with the books that listeners have mentioned they also are looking forward to reading in the new year. So, books I loved this year, books I'm going to be reading this year and into next year, and then books that I am beyond excited to read going into 2026, along with some books that y'all mentioned. So, let's get right into it. Okay, first things first, let's dive into some of my favorite books from 2025. These are not necessarily ranked, they're just books that I really enjoyed for different reasons. I have some romance, some horror. I have a graphic novel or two, and I have some nonfiction, which is actually really fun. So, yeah, let's get right into it. First things first, I want to talk about two books that I really, really enjoyed that are nonfiction, but they have a twist and they're a little funky, and I like that. The first one is Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism by Amanda Montell. This one dives into multiple different cults from different points of history and why they were so alluring and dangerous and impactful, from the dangerous groups to ones that you actually see in your everyday life. What defines a cult, social media, and the impact on society. It's actually really short as well. I listened to the audiobook and I really, really enjoyed it. I'm hoping to do an entire episode about why I liked this book. I also have some quotes that I really enjoyed from it. So that's coming up soon. I think this is one of my favorite books of the year because cults and organized crime, manipulation, communication, a lot of those elements to me, what separates the concept of an organized religious group from a dangerous group has always fascinated me. So this was really, really good read. I highly recommend the audiobook. And if you want to get a physical copy, it could also be helpful if you have like a book club. I could see this being a really good book club pick. So I love this book, The Language of Fanaticism, Cultish. Also, Amanda Montell has a podcast also called Cultish that I really, really like. So highly recommend. Okay. My second nonfiction book that I really enjoyed this year dove a lot into medicine, history, and who defines history, who shares history, and the impact of women of color in society. And that is The Conjuring of America, Mojo's Mermaids, Medicine, and 400 Years of Black Women's Magic by Lindsey Stewart. This book was absolutely amazing. There's lots of discussions of the history of Black women in America as well as all over the world, gods and goddesses, medicine. I didn't know there's a history on Vicks and where it originated from. This was so beautifully written and it was just impactful. I hope I can have Lindsey on the podcast very soon because this was one that I had to sit with for a very long time and I can see myself rereading it. I also have the audiobook and wow, listening to the audiobook, it's very immersive. I feel like I was witnessing a lot in this story like a movie in my head and it just made me want to look more into the medicines in our own like bathroom cabinet, the impact of pain and how women of color have been really impactful towards healing. So yeah, this was amazing. The Conjuring of America, so good. Add it to your TBR. It's amazing. Okay, so two of my nonfiction picks. All right, we're gonna dive into some of my graphic novels that I really loved this year. So there's two of them. My book stacks on the corners. So if you see me like going in and out, that's why. But two graphic novels I really enjoyed this year. Both are actually queer. As a queer person, I love anything with graphic novels that dives into love, friendship, communication and is able to display all of that beautifully in the art. So the first one that I want to share is The Princess in the Grilled Cheese Sandwich by Deya Muniz. This was absolutely wonderful. The art is gorgeous. It is full of like pastel hues and pinks and purples and greens. This story follows someone who goes through really bad family tragedy and they do not want to get married. And at that point, they identify in a certain way. So they have to dress like a man in order to be able to access their father's wealth and to kind of hold on to their sense of independence. And they also have to hide away because like some people in society knew that the father had a daughter. And as they hide away, they're able to like keep their wealth, but they're very lonely. And they end up going into town one day and they meet the princess. There's a party. Crazy stuff ensues, but it's so freaking good. It's a bit of a love story. It's finding oneself. There is miscommunication. The art style is gorgeous. I may not be able to have cheese, but this story made me want to make a vegan grilled cheese, which can be pretty good if you make it right. So this was beautiful. It also has some representation with the LGBTQIA plus community in the story. There's a really beautiful little romance in it as well. It was so, so good. I highly recommend The Princess and the Grilled Cheese for a graphic novel with hints of romance. Okay, the next one on my list is Chef's Kiss. This is absolutely perfect for lovers of Heartstopper who also want a little bit of a culinary element in their graphic novel. I obviously have a pattern. I'm a sucker for like bold print and hints of humor in graphic novels. So this one follows a young person who previously was going for a like literature degree and they're trying to find a job that applies to their degree and all their friends are getting these big jobs and they end up stumbling into a culinary job and there's a pig in the story who like he has to feed the food and the pig loves it then he gets to like go higher and higher in his like culinary experience because the owner is like the pig is the owner's like pet and he's like if my pig loves your food then the food is good. There's also a male romance in this and it's so adorable. They are like cooking together and training together. It's super cute. So I absolutely love Chef's Kiss. The art is great. There's friendship, there's communication between found family and biological family and it's really, really good. So I highly recommend checking this out. This is an romance. This is Chef's Kiss by Jarrett Melendez, Danica Brine, Hank Jones, and Hazzan Otsmane-Elhaou. So it looks absolutely wonderful. It was so good. Okay, so going into some of my favorite LGBTQIA plus romances of the year. Um, I have two. They are both sapphic, and one is a monster romance, and the other one is a contemporary romance. So let's dive right into it. Okay, so the monster romance. Of course, I think we all know which one I'm going to talk about, and that is The Librarian's Gargoyle by Evelyn Shine. This book swept me off my feet. It's set in France. It's set in a world with magical libraries. I believe it was in the 1920s. Evelyn was on the podcast, and the way she just built this world was so beautiful and magical. It was great to be able to talk to her about it. There is a young woman who works in a magical library, and her family expects her to marry this man, and she does not want to. And there's dark magic in this world. And every night she puts on her magic slippers and she's able to kind of Spider-Man her way across these buildings. And she sits with this gargoyle, this statue, and she talks about her life. And this goes on for years. And the statue never speaks back to her. But it turns out the statue, the gargoyle, has a soul and it can hear her. And one day, the gargoyle's creator allows them to transform and like have a physical body, and they look human, and but they have all the memories from all those years where like the girl was talking to them. So they go to the library to get some books, her magical library, and her escape. And the gargoyle may or may not be falling in love with the main character, and it's like a fish out of water vibes. It's so freaking good, and I highly recommend it. It was beautifully written. It's definitely got some spice. It's got lots of yearning, and just like kind of rising above societal expectations and going after what you want. And it's just so, so good. I cannot wait to read what she writes next. So this is The Librarian's Gargoyle by Evelyn Shine. Okay, next. I had to like go for it. It's one of my favorite romance books of the year, and that is Where There's Smoke by Aricka Alexander. This is a Black romance. It has curvy representation. It is a baker and a firefighter. Aricka was also on the podcast. Fangirl moment. This book was adorable. Lots of heat. This follows two people who meet in a small town, and time goes by. They meet again, and the yearning and the stakes were so like the stakes were low, but the yearning was high. And there was something about like the way that Aricka writes love stories, it feels very organic. And what I really, really love is that when the spice does occur, it's because it's been built up. And there's a lot of communication, and it's very inclusive of plus size folks. I feel so seen in this story, and there's a softness, and it was just so freaking good. So check out Where There's Smoke. Oof. Okay, now that we've gotten to the romance, I think it's time that we pick our last romance of the year, one of my favorites. I have one more, but I'm gonna save it for the end because it's on my Kindle. I had a physical copy, but I gave it to my mom to read for a bit. I hope she gives it back. But my last paranormal romance that I want to mention is Mate by Ali Hazelwood. I annotated the fuck out of this book. It was so freaking good. I'm surprised. I read Bride. I loved Bride down, but Mate was amazing. I loved um the element of like miscommunication in this book. It was important. It was important. And I'm not usually a miscommunication girl, but in this story, the way that their banter made you kind of fall in love with both of them as characters. You get introduced to the love interest in this book in book one. And then in book two, you get to learn a little bit more about her mentality and why she acts the way she acts and how she navigates being a wolf and kind of the struggles that she's facing. And you also get to learn a little bit about her love interest. One thing I loved about this book was that in the beginning of each chapter, you get a quote from the male love interest. But it's like you get from his perspective, but it's only a single quote. So he'll say something like, I know I shouldn't be with her because she distracts me, but my heart like yearns for her. And then you'll get that chapter and he's like all aloof and dark, but deep down you know that he's like falling hard. And I really, really like that. I also loved the humor. I liked the discussions on consent and waiting to have intimacy. This story, actually, a majority of it, they're not doing the do. It doesn't happen until much later. And I kind of liked how he had to talk about like his responsibilities as an alpha, his responsibilities to his community. And you also got a little bit more of like the society in this world and like why there are certain rules. And I liked the world building. It was really, really fun. And it made the romance like feel like the stakes were a lot higher. And it was giving me like the paranormal romance that I used to love in high school, like the passionate, like, this doesn't make sense, but I want you. It was giving me that. And I really, really liked it. So I loved Mate. This was so, so fun. I hope she writes more paranormal romances because this was great. Okay. So we are going to dive into some spooky tales. Okay. I love a good scary story as long as I have my girlfriend in the distance to comfort me about it later. So let's dive into some of my favorite scary stories this year. Okay, this one is a witch story, and it was my introduction after Play Nice, and I loved Play Nice. My mom also has my copy of Play Nice. Please give it back. And that is Cackle by Rachel Harrison. This was one of my favorite books of the year. This follows a young woman after a really crappy breakup. She's moving to a small town. She's in a teaching role, and she ends up bumping into a mysterious, beautiful woman that has enchanted the entire town with her abilities. But they're also a little scared of her, and she does not understand why, because this person is super sweet to the main character. And you get to learn a little bit more about the main character trying to find agency, to not be so tied to this previous relationship, to not be so tied to pleasing her ex, to pleasing others, to putting herself first, the power of putting herself first. This had scary elements. It had ghouls, it had ghosts, it had lots of spiders. If that's a fear for you, this is going to be scary as hell. There were some spooky moments, and but Rachel has a way of writing about women and personality and who you are and the depths of finding out who you are and the cost of finding out who you are and not pleasing everyone. The gore of trying to speak up for yourself and that manifestation of anger and rage. Like, this was so freaking good. It had scary moments, but it also had a lot of heart. And it reminded me a lot of the same tone of like Practical Magic, where it has whimsical moments, but it's also has some really dark moments. I loved it. It was a little bit gothic too, and I appreciated that. So that is Cackle by Rachel Harrison. I flew through this. I will probably reread it again, and I'm so happy I have a copy. This is wonderful, and I may have a surprise next year. So keep your eye out because I'm planning on reading all of Rachel Harrison's books going into 2026. I've been collecting them little by little. Thanks to my friends and family. I've also found some used books, and I'm just so excited. I love her work. So great little story. Okay, my next spooky tale is a really gothic one, but it's Southern Gothic. And I got to interview this author, and she was a sweetie pie. And the book that I want to talk about is Spit Back the Bones by Teagan Olivia King. This was one of my favorite books of the year. I read this in the summertime, which is actually the perfect time to read it. If you can look, I have a little feather at the top. My grandma gave this to me when I was reading it in Connecticut. I annotated it a little bit, and this follows someone who's going back to their small town due to a missing person in their family, and they also lost their brother a few years prior. And there is a bog, and there's a creature in the bog that may be seeking them out in the darkness. It is very spooky. It reminded me a lot of Midnight Mass, and Teagan and I discussed that in our episode. It also discusses religious trauma as well as finding love, finding yourself, and fighting your demons. And it was dark and it was wonderful. Also, it had one of the best first chapters I've ever read. So super, super good. Spit Back the Bones by Teagan Olivia King. Ooh, and a little bit of a creature feature element as well, if you like that. Okay. Okay. I'm on my last two books that were my favorites of 2025. Let's go. My next book is a adventure romance fantasy that has vampires set in Mexico, dual POV, and enemies to lovers. And it's very bloody and it's kind of gothic. And that is A Cruel Thirst by Angela Montoya. I buddy read this with my friend Calissa from Busy Reading Romantasy. This does not like fully steep in romance. The romance is there, but the family dynamics and the lore behind these vampires was genius. Angela Montoya was on the podcast. She was also on Busy Reading Romantasy's podcast. You should definitely check out both my episode and Calissa's. This story was electric. I could not stop listening to what these characters were going through, the lore of vampires in this town, and the key element of the story is that there's a young man and he loses both his parents to a vampire attack. He, in the very first chapter, tries to find the vampire who killed his parents and by accident gets turned by that same vampire. He goes on a rampage, kills all those vampires' children, and now he's running from that vampire trying to save his sister who's still human. On the other end, you have the female love interest who's also a badass in her own right. She is trying to become a vampire slayer, but her family will not allow her to. And she loses her grandfather to a vampire attack, and she decides to like hell or high water, I'm becoming a vampire hunter. I hate them. She ends up bumping into the young man from the previous chapter, and he's like, I don't want to be a vampire. I want to find a cure. And she's like, I hear you. I still hate you, but I hear you. And they end up working together. They may or may not fall in love. And there's an ancient vampire who may be, I don't know, in the wings. This was so, so good. I also really loved the diary entries and the little notes from people in town about their experiences with vampires. It was so good. I love mixed media in a story. And this was absolutely amazing. Okay, the last story that I want to reference that I absolutely loved was actually on my Kindle. I also have a physical copy, but like I said, my mom currently has it. And this was a contemporary story with romance elements. I had this author on my podcast earlier this year. And honestly, when I think about this book, I just think about how much I feel like I've grown and the importance of like falling in love with yourself, healing certain things that you're experiencing so that you can find joy, you can find love. And that is New Growth. I wanted to show a little picture. It's on my Kindle, but it's in my purse. This is New Growth by Taashei B. Williams. This book was absolutely amazing. It follows a young woman who experiences a loss in her family very suddenly. And then she also experiences a really dramatic experience with her sister and her really manipulative and abusive fiance. And long story short, she ends up going on a journey to find herself again. She ends up really diving, investing more in her hair care and in her business. And she may find new love and kind of a voice of her own. And it was absolutely amazing. It was one of my favorite books of the year. So I'm waiting for my mom to give me my copy back, hopefully soon. But if not, I am more than happy to buy another. It was so wonderful. The romance was slow and sweet, and the representation in the story for Black love and for diabetes and communication about boundaries and how to open up to someone was amazing. There also is discussions of substance abuse, specifically alcoholism in that story. So please keep that in mind, but it's handled with a lot of care. And I appreciated that. Okay, so those were some of my favorite books of 2025. So that's a good way to start the episode. I absolutely loved all these books, and I will have them all listed in the show notes below. Let's dive into some of my favorite books that I've been reading recently, and I cannot wait to share with you guys in a deeper episode very soon. So we're just going to plow through these puppies. The first one I actually got from Barnes Noble. I got it thanks to another podcast on here. She's well read, another amazing podcast, and this is Bloom How You Must by Tara Pringle Jefferson, A Black Woman's Guide to Self-Care and Generational Healing. I'm really excited to read this. I have another book in my stack that I'm hoping to teach me a little bit more about self-care, how to be there for myself, how to kind of, I don't know, like moderate my emotions, how to communicate my boundaries. This sounds absolutely wonderful, and I had to get it. So, Bloom How You Must. Can't wait to read it. Okay. Next one is similar. I've had my eye on this book for a long time, and I've been trying to get my own copy. And that is Black Girls Breathing, Healing from Trauma, Combat Chronic Stress, and Find Your Freedom by Jasmine Marie. This story sounds absolutely impactful. It's also nonfiction, and to my understanding, I think it also follows tips to manage trauma and pain for women of color. I also think there's elements of discussion of the history of health and how to improve that long term. So that makes me really excited. Okay. My next three books that I'm planning on reading right now, literally, like, I can't wait to eat my dinner and read these in bed and get all cozy. They're a little bit spooky, so get your cozy clothes on because you're gonna want to snuggle up. All right. First one, I actually went to Barnes Noble and I searched for this book. I searched for it. I needed it, and it just came out this year. And that is I'll Make a Spectacle of You by Beatrice Winifred Eaker. This book also has mixed media, and you're going to see that I love that. I love a diary entry. I love a podcast inside of a story. I love like text messages and like chat rooms inside of books. I really appreciate that. Some of my favorite books have that. So let's hear a little bit about I'll Make a Spectacle of You. Twisty, brooding, and unpredictable, as deliciously creepy as a long walk home through a darkened wood. This is a review from Bitter Corella, author of Moonflow. Zora Robinson is an ambitious grad student in her dream program at Brixbury Mountain College. But when her thesis advisor hands her a strange diary and suggests she research the local legend about a beast in the woods, she finds a community uneager to talk to an outsider. As she delves deeper into the legend's history, Zora uncovers a rumored secret society called the Keepers, which has a tenuous tie to the beast and to Brixbury itself. When students start disappearing, Zora finds herself plagued by visions of the past as she struggles to separate truth from folklore before it's too late. And that is I'll Make a Spectacle of You by Beatrice Winifred Eaker. I'm so excited to read this. I got the one copy in Barnes & Noble. There should be more copies, by the way, and I cannot wait to review this. And I just hope that other people read this and the gothic goodness. Okay, next book is actually an ARC. This is on my list of most anticipated books of 2026. So I'm so grateful that I got this arc from the author. Thank you so much. And this is Thrall by Rebecca Mahoney. I'm so excited. I interviewed Rebecca. The episode's coming out in 2026. So let's hear a little bit about Thrall. Swapping all-nighters for all eternities. Lucy Easting has broken free from her grim home life and is ready to truly live, but her new beginning at Rollins University isn't what she expected. After attending the first campus party of the year, she awakens the next day with no memory of how she got home and two puncture marks on her neck. She tries to piece together what happened that night, but every lead brings her to another dead end until she receives a handwritten note inviting her to call in at a late night campus radio show. Once on air, the host's soothing voice over the line confirms her worst fear. She's being haunted by a vampire. Lucy teams up with the show's host, who narrowly escaped an attack her sophomore year, and a beautiful archery champion who is likely to shoot her as is to kiss her. They believe their friend with the cold hands is responsible for the disappearances of several women in town, and they've been tracking him via the airwaves since long before Lucy arrived. As the vampire's sway over Lucy grows and his plans become clear, she realizes she must fight for a future of her own, or she may not have a future at all. And this comes out, oh my gosh, April 21st in 2026. So I'm super, super excited for Thrall to come out. This is by Rebecca Mahoney. Add it to your TBR for 2026. I'm so excited. And thank you for this arc. I'm so grateful, Rebecca. Okay, my last book that I'm going to be reading as we enter the end of the year and probably step into the new year is The Place Where They Buried Your Heart by Christina Henry. And this says, the house is awake, but it is hungry. And I'm so excited to read this. Okay, what is it about? It was only a dare. On an otherwise ordinary street in Chicago, there is a house, an abandoned house, where once upon a time, terrible things happened. The children who live on this block are told by their parents to stay away from that house. But of course, children don't listen. Children think it's fun to be scared, to dare each other to go inside. Jessie Campanelli did what many older sisters do and dared her little brother Paul. But unlike all the other kids who went inside that abandoned house, Paul didn't return. His two friends, Jake and Richie, said that the house ate Paul. Of course, adults didn't believe that. Adults never believe what kids say. They thought someone kidnapped Paul or hurt him. They thought Paul had vanished in a way that was ordinary, explainable. The disappearance of her little brother broke Jessie's family apart in ways that would never be repaired. Jessie grew up, had a child of her own, and kept living on the same street where the house ate her brother sat, crouched, waiting. And the darkness seemed to spread out from that house, a darkness that was alive, alive and hungry. And that is The Place Where They Buried Your Heart by Christina Henry. I can't wait to read this. The tone reminded me a lot of Play Nice by Rachel Harrison, and I love that haunted house. So I'm curious to see what exactly is possessing this house. So that is my list of books I'm going to be reading as we enter the end of the year and snuggle up for New Year's Eve and when we enter January. Now, let's start with some of my most anticipated books of 2026. There's a lot of them, so I will put them in the show notes below so you can find them along with the books that I am currently reading and books that I loved this year. But I was thinking I kind of want to start with the books that you all loved. And I want to give you guys shout outs for everyone who sent me books that you really, really want to read coming into the new year. Because listen, y'all, I'm not the only one out here with a massive TBR, okay? All right. So my first message from a friend about their anticipated books of 2026 is I'm excited for And Now Back to You by B.K. Borson. I loved First Time Caller. It was sweet with a touch of spice, and it made me feel so cozy. So I'm hoping for the same vibes. Also excited for More Than Friends by Kat Singleton. I have devoured their entire series, and I am more than ready for the third installment. I love a good billionaire romance, and with it set in the Hamptons as town, it gives that decadent vibe you would expect. And this is from Jessica at Books, Beaches, and Brews. Thank you, Jessica. Next one. I Don't Wish You Well by Chimuta Elmison. Fast-paced, a murder mystery that blends social commentary and a whodunit into a very enjoyable story because he's on my favorite list and has never let me down. Last First Kiss by Julian Winters. And of course, this is Julian. Love his work. But the storytelling in this one is just amazing. And this is from Black Boys Read. This is from Jay. Thanks, Jay. Okay. The next person said, High Energy Unpleasant by Fern Brady. I love her memoir, and this is her fiction debut. This is from Maddie Z at Manda Reads 222. From Sav at Jim Girl Reads said, Molka by Monica Kim, author of The Eyes of the Best Part. Molka is a female revenge horror that addresses misogyny, toxic masculinity, and issues of consent as a woman becomes publicly exposed via spy cams that she was unaware of. Second pick is Honey by Imani Thompson, an academic thriller of a woman who goes on a killing spree of bad men based on her scholarly framework of Afro-pessimism. Ooh. Okay, this is from a podcast friend, Romy from Paperback Pleasures. They said, Hi, love. Here are some of the books that I'm excited to read next year. Some are parts of smutty little series I've been loving. By E.M. Lindsey, third in a series called Deaf Hearts, which centers around all deaf or hard-hearing MMCs, or like male main characters. Love these. She also has a series called Punk as Puck, which centers around para hockey players living with disabilities, which is so fun and so hot and so different from what so much romance has in it. Alex Hall is expanding their Spires universe, which I believe are two more books. Their series has me in an emotional chokehold. I can't even. Glitterland destroyed me in all the best ways. Sarah Rosh's fake divination offensive is up there too. I'm obsessed with her romance writing, and I love the first one in the series. Finally, We Burn So Bright by T.J. Klune. He's an auto-buy author for me, and his character writing has my whole heart. You can use some of these or none of them at all. Hope this helps. Thank you so much, Romy. And Paperback Pleasures is an amazing podcast. Everyone should check it out. They do great romance book recommendations. Let's go on to the next one. From Kate at Katie Wren Reads says, I have three I can't wait for. And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison, Fireline by Maggie Gates, and Promise Me by Sarah Kate. Becca_Mary said, Hi. One of them is The Caretaker by Marcus Clearar, which is out February, April 26th of next year. He wrote We Used to Live Here. That's on my Kindle. I got to read that. That came out earlier this year and genuinely scared me. It ended up being on my top 5 books of 2025. I'm hoping to be scared again. Okay. From Jordan at Jordan Reads Books said, Okay, I just looked at my list and I'll go with The Perfect Match by Abdia Jaguar and Smash Your Pass by Birdie Shakay. Abida Jaguar is one of my favorite authors. I'll read anything by her. Smash Your Pass, I believe, has autism rep, which I'm excited to read as I'm autistic. Both of these are sapphic sports romances also, which is one of my favorite subgenres. Thank you, Jordan. And thank you for listening. You're so cool. I always meant to give them a shout out. They're a really, really awesome listener and they're very supportive on the blog. And I'm grateful for all of our listeners, but a special shout out to you, Jordan. Next. My two most anticipated books of 2026 are What We Did to Survive by Megan Talley, because the last 2 books I read by Megan Talley this year absolutely slapped. Favorite young adult author, and I Will Kill Your Imaginary Friend for $200 by Robert Brockway because of the title. My favorite movie ever is Drop Dead Fred. It's about an imaginary friend, and this book sounds like it gives those vibes. This is from book blogger AB at kindaspooky_reads. Okay. Next is from Crystal at Chapters with Christas. Here are 2 books I'm highly anticipating for 2026. Score by Kennedy Ryan. Keeper of Lost Children by Sadika Johnson. Kennedy Ryan is one of my favorite contemporary romance writers, and I thoroughly enjoyed Real and very interested in learning about Verity and Monk's love story. Sadika Johnson never fails to move you emotionally and intellectually with her historical fiction novels. I'm also excited to read Kin by Terry Jones in 2026. Thanks, Crystal. Next one. A Prince Among Pirates by Katie Abdu. I haven't read a pirate book in a while, but queer squashbuckling sounds like a good time. Cemetery Boys SQ by Aiden Thomas. I love Cemetery Boys when it came out. The Hispanic heritage and trans main character has a moving story. I didn't expect to get a second book. I am so happy it has one now. This is from Jay's Bookverse, and I absolutely love their YouTube. Please check them out. They've also been on my podcast. I love our episode together. They're just an all-around really cool person. Jay, you're amazing. Also, Cemetery Boys. I don't know why it said Askew. It should just say Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. I own that book. I need to read it. I also own the audiobook. I just really want to. So I need to like sit down and like dedicate time because I can't wait to read it. Okay, last person who sent me their most anticipated books in 2026 is Bree from Bookstar Bree. They said, I'm so excited for Hold Me Like a Grudge by Celine Onog. It's a queer sports romance, and I'm a little biased because I happen to be friends with a wonderful author, and I'm excited for her. I'm also incredibly excited for Bound by Fury by Noelle Monette. This book is a young adult dark academia fantasy, and every time I hear about it, I get more antsy for its release. Thanks, Bree. Okay, so those are some books that my listeners are very excited to read. Now it's time for me to share mine. Okay, this is the last part of the episode, I promise. And then this is the last episode for the year. So I guess I just wanted to make it last. Okay, let's dive right into it. I broke down all my favorite and like most anticipated books of the year into categories by genre. So the first one is Southern Gothic. Okay. I also put when these books come out. You're welcome. Okay. So Bitter Bloom by Teagan Olivia King. This is the author of Spit Back the Bones. So this book comes out March of 2026. And it's about, I put like bullet points about like the vibes for these books. Visions of Girls in the Woods. It's a horror romantasy. The Wolf Meets Frankenstein. Death and Mystery. Moody Atmosphere. And that is Bitter Bloom by Teagan Olivia King. You Should Have Been Nicer to My Mom by Vincent Torito. Vincent is actually going to be on the podcast. Yay! So I'm so excited to ask them a little bit about this book. What's it about? This book comes out March 10th, 2026. It's described as a modern Gothic horror. As described by the author, they say, a young woman reads their grandfather's will and finds out someone in their house is a literal demon, and it's their job to take them out. And that is You Should Have Been Nicer to My Mom by Vincent Torado. I'm so sorry if I said your last name wrong. On Sundays, She Picked Flowers by Yaya Schofield. Schofield? This comes out January 27th of 2026. This is also Southern Gothic. Lone Women Meet Sorrowland. The female main character escapes their mother and has to confront ghosts, haints, and most of all, herself, according to an Instagram post from the author. And that's On Sundays, She Picked Flowers by Yaya Schofield. That comes out January 27th of 2026. Next, Funerals Are for the Living by Sam Ellis. I cannot wait to read this book. I'm listening to one of their audiobooks on and off, and it's actually super amazing. This one comes out July 21st, 2026. This was described as Junie thinks the white side of the county is messing with her sister's burial ground. Her and her bestie have to investigate. This is a horror Southern Gothic from the author who brought you Dead Girls Walking. That's the book that I'm currently reading and really enjoying the audiobook. I also own a physical copy. And that is Funerals Are for the Living by Sam Ellis. That comes out July 21st, 2026. Now we're going to dive into my top 2 psychological suspense books that I'm excited to read in 2026. First one, this is actually, to my understanding, coming out 2027, but it's been on my TBR for years. And that is One of You by Erin E. Adams. This is supposed to come out April 6th of 2027. This is about 2 Haitian American sisters who are tormented by an outsider to face their family's past. A mysterious family friend begins to influence a family into a downfall, and secrets begin to unravel as grief and a dark energy consume the family. One of You by Erin E. Adams. Next one, The Season of Sinking by Daphne Wollstonecraft. This is from the same author who wrote Night Watcher, and that was one of my favorite thrillers of the year. I meant to add it to my list of one of my favorite thrillers of the year, but it was. The audiobook was amazing, and the author, Daphne Wollstonecraft, actually has a podcast called Going West. It's very good if you're a fan of victimology as well as true crime with a lot of respect for victims and their families. They also have a lot of resources, which I really respect. The Season of Sinking by Daphne Wollstonecraft comes out July 7th of 2026. It's a small town near a lake. That's where it's set. A girl comes home and has to grapple with the grief and death of her mother as she begins to wonder if the folks in town were involved. Ooh, that looks amazing and really deep. I also like how Daphne's first book, Night Watcher, didn't it felt like a story that had a lot of weight and emotion, and the way that she concluded it and the way that she presented the killer was intense and was really memorable. So I can't wait to read this season of Sinking. Okay. Next, my number one nonfiction book I can't wait to read next year is Are You Mad at Me? How to Stop Focusing on What Others Want and Start Focusing on You by Meg Josephson. Josephson? Joseph Son. Okay, I'm so sorry. So what is Are You Mad at Me about? It discusses fawning or people pleasing as a trauma response, strategies to stop existing for external validation. Are You Mad at Me? How to stop focusing on what others think and start living for you. So I can't wait to read this book, and it just sounds really, really impactful. Next, some LGBTQ books coming out that I can't wait to read. First things first, She Came for the Pack by Darva Green. Darva has been on the podcast, super sweet, and this is one of my most anticipated wolf romances that is also sapphic. Also, muscle mommies. Okay, this is coming out February 14th, 2026. It's a werewolf romance, fated mates, sapphic, muscle mommy, which is a muscular, strong main character or love interest, ghost wolf, and a sapphic awakening. Next one, Always Her by AJ Knight. This comes out January 11th, 2026. It's a slow burn, magic bonds and curses, fae vampire, grumpy sunshine, yearning and reincarnation. A blurb from the author says, in a magical town of Lark Hollow, a cursed fae apothecary owner and vampire artist are about to challenge fate itself. And that is Always Her, coming out January 11th, 2026. I also am on the ARC team for this book. I made this list before I got on the ARC team. I actually read the dedication for this book and the first chapter, and guys, it is so good. Please check out Always Her by AJ Knight ASAP. It is amazing. I will keep it linked in the show notes below. As Long as You Loathe Me by Swati Hegde. This is another author who's been on the podcast. So sweet. This is a young adult. It's coming out March 31st, 2026. It's Indian American bisexual main character. Never Have I Ever meets Mean Girls. And the tagline for this book is Bring Down the Cheerleader, Just Don't Fall for Her. As Long as You Loathe Me by Swati Hegde. The next book, The Book of Blood and Roses by Anne Summerlee. This comes out January 13th, 2026. It's a vampire hunter and a vampire are college roommates in a Scottish university. It has yearning, dark academia, and it's sapphic. The Book of Blood and Roses by Annie Summerlee. Next one, We Were Never Here by Sophia Hanan. This comes out July 28th, 2026. This is a debut author. Sapphic, gothic, art heist gone wrong, spooky haunted objects, ghost hunters become art heists, but the piece they were going to steal is haunted, and something follows them home. This is We Were Never Here. Ooh, sounds so good. You Pierce My Soul by Jessica Mary Best. This comes out May 5th, 2026. It's young adult dystopian, sapphic, and the summary from Goodreads reads, an algorithm called Heart Song can help you find a soulmate in this world. She bumps into someone and the algorithm starts, but she doesn't fall for that person. She doesn't love them. By the end of the night, she's engaged to them. To overcome this algorithm, the female main character and her former best friend go on a quest to find out how a heart song really works before it's too late. And that is You Pierce My Soul by Jessica Mary Best. The last book on my LGBTQIA plus books that I'm anticipating for 2026 is The Rhythm of the Rain Dance by Aricka Alexander, another author from the podcast. So sweet. And this book is about a Black, bisexual, and pansexual representation. It shows choreography videos go viral, and the main character pursues a future in this industry with a leap of faith. It is a contemporary romance, and it's about self-discovery and love. So I'm so excited to read that. Okay, some of my anticipated paranormal and romance books, okay? We have Weaving Shaw by Herba Al-Wasti. This comes out February 24th of 2026. She can see ghosts, and it's a slow burn, has not a lot of spice, but more longing, gothic romanticy, and it's a debut author, and that is Weaving Shaw by Herba Al-Wasti. Death Meets Cute by Jay Jenner. This comes out April 28th, 2026. She wants to be a villain, and he is an ogre who loves to bake, so it's giving cozy vibes. Romanticy in a cozy setting, but is losing magic. Slow burn and spicy talk. I Punched an Alien and Now We Are in Couples Therapy by Kimberly Lemming. I love Kimberly Lemon down. I love her down. Black women in romantasy, humor, spice, and lots of longing. Also, one of my favorite and first episodes of this podcast was about the Mead Mishap series. So definitely circle back and check those out. I put a lot of love into those episodes, and I may read some spicy, you know, parts of the book aloud, So I haven't done that since. I need to get some courage. But I love Kimberly Lemon Down. Her books will always have a very special place in my heart. Okay. I punched an alien and now we are in couples therapy. This comes out August 18th, 2026. It's a romantasy with humor and spice. From the author who gave you That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. It has sci-fi elements and may have even more spice. Next one, The Gravewood by Kelly Andrew. This has vampires, enemies to lovers. He feeds on her at night. Vampire gang that rules Gravewood. It's mystery, ride or die trio of friends, moody atmosphere. And The Gravewood by Kelly Andrew comes out April 2026. A Pack for Spring by Amelia Anderson, or I apologize, A Pack for Spring by Amelia Emerson. This book it's part of a series, but it can be read as a standalone. Found family, male, male, female, male romance. So it's a wide choose. There's multiple love interests. It's a small town romance. It's got spice. It's a cozy setting, and it also has a sewing shop. So the main character does a lot of sewing and design on clothes. It has a 29-year-old female main character finding herself. Wolves, and it comes out April 14th, 2026. Also, I'm currently reading A Pack for Winter. This is actually super cute to read during the Christmas time. The main character is a teacher, and the people that she's falling in love with this story, it has two male characters who are in a relationship and are also falling for her. So it's kind of like we can all be together, and it's cute and it's spicy and it's super good. So A Pack for Winter is also super good. So I'm excited to read the next book, A Pack for Spring. So, all right. Some young adult books that I'm excited to read. I have a few. I have three. So the first one is These Kindred Hearts. It's 17 Tales of Love and Magic. It's a young adult anthology. It comes out June 30th, 2026. And according to Goodreads, it is 17 BIPOC authors from varied backgrounds come together to showcase the diversity of romance and celebrate the wild hearts of teens in this young adult romance anthology. It's 17 romantasy stories with witches, sirens, and friends, to lovers, monster hunters, and sapphic shapeshifters, and more. This is directly from Goodreads. And one of the authors in this collection who edited it has been on the podcast, and that's Sherry B. Panett. She's also the owner and friend of Jay's House, one of my favorite online bookshops and bakeries. The next young adult book that I cannot wait to read next year is Charmed and Dangerous by Shelley Page. Shelley Page has written some really beautiful and amazing Black, sapphic, and queer books. I wish I had those books when I was younger, and I'm just grateful she's writing them now. So Charmed and Dangerous is a Black magical lesbian's tale. It comes out March 24th, 2026. It has teen main characters, and it has magical issues at a high school. The main character is trying to fix them while also dating the magical daughter of her boss. It's cozy and it just looks amazing. The last book that is in my young adult stories I can't wait to read is Ghost in the Night by Tiffany D. Jackson. This comes out August 4th, 2026. It follows up with Blood in the Water, which is another book I need to read. Maybe I can read that in the summertime. It's set in Savannah, Georgia, the most haunted city in the United States. It has a Black female main character. It's middle grade mystery. It has a ghost picture, a murder mystery. Scooby-Doo meets Ghostbumps vibes with deeper elements of truth and emotional moments from Tiffany D. Jackson, which she is known for. So I love that. Okay, mafia romances. Ooh, all right. So my number one book that is a mafia romance I cannot wait to read is His Empress by Amelia Rossi. This is book 3 in the Royal series. It is Lovers to Enemies to Lovers. Princess Hacker, Forced Proximity, a chance meeting in the city of love is about to change everything. Tons of spice. And this comes out April 21st, 2026. So my next few are Black contemporary romances. The Summer Girlfriend by Christina Forrest. a wonderful author who came on the podcast. She wrote one of my favorite series, the Green Sister series. So I can't wait for the Summer Girlfriend. What's this one about? Okay, this comes out June 9th, 2026. It has fake dating. He'll hire her to be his stand in girlfriend for a wedding so she can pay her tuition to get back to college. But they may fall in love. Male main character is the owner of a baked goods company. Female main character is a bridesmaid for hire, set in Heart Beach, New Jersey. Dual POV, and is a contemporary romance from the Queen of Longing and writing swoon worthy characters. Next one is Janae Sanders' Second Time Round by LaQuie. I cannot wait to read this book. I loved her other book. It was like the main character's name, and it's like it's got a man, and I love the way that she writes romance, and I really appreciate the way that she writes like male POV, and like the way that these Black women are so soft and sweet and layered, but also strong and complex and very open about like what they want, and I just love the way she writes. I read one of her books on a flight. I literally finished it before the flight ended because I just had to know what happened. So, what is Janae Sanders' Second Time Round about? This comes out January 6th, 2026. It's a second chance romance, a secret high school crush from way back when, relatable family drama, dual POV. It's steamy, mature main characters, and he pursues her. The book's description, according to the author's Instagram, says after leaving a toxic 16-year marriage, Janae, with the support of her friends and her divorce support group, Savvy, Sexy, and Single Club, Janae is focusing on raising her teen son and starting her new life. But she bumps into her secret high school crush who is back in town, Adam, who is back in town to care for his father. He pursues her in a passionate new way, and they may have a chance at love. And that is coming out January 6th, 2026. Janae Sanders' Second Time Around by LaQuette. Horror books. These are the last books on my 2026 anticipated reads. Of course, I love a good spooky tale. Next, Tradwife by Saratoga Schaefer. This comes out February 10th, 2025. Rosemary's Baby meets Night Bitch. A tradwife influencer wishes for a baby at any cost and comes to crave meat as her pregnancy rapidly increases in this horror novel. That is Tradwife by Saratoga Schaefer. Next, Not Your Final Girl by Michaela Randolph. This comes out May 5th, 2026. It's an isolated location, lakeside cabin, high school friends and tension, a prom murder from years prior, mean girls at the heart of the group, and it's a slasher. This is definitely giving me vibes of like if Scream was set at a camp, and like you're an adult now, very much like Yellow Jackets in that way, where like they had beef in the past and now it's showing up in the present. I love those vibes. I love those vibes. Next, Thrall. So I have obviously mentioned Thrall earlier this episode, so I'm going to hold it up. This is an arc, but ooh, this cover is absolutely stunning. You see a radio station and then fangs above dripping blood. Ooh. So, college campus, it comes out April 21st, 2026. So I'm here for that. Oh, okay. Actually, update. So it says schedule. It's supposed to come late March 2026. I apologize. Female main character is friends with a radio station to investigate a vampire on campus. It's a horror mystery, and it's definitely time sensitive because the main character got bitten by a vampire, and we got to find the vampire now before it's too late. Also, sapphic representation. I love to see it. Next, I can't wait to read this book. It is my last book on my most anticipated books 2026. And that is A Box Full of Darkness by Simone St. James. This comes out June 20th, 2026. Three siblings go back to the house their brother went missing 18 years prior. It's set in New York. It's a murder mystery. Hide and seek gone wrong. One sibling sees ghosts. Sister is a presence haunting them. Ben, the youngest brother, is back, mysteriously. It's a thriller and a mystery from the Queen of Twists, A Box Full of Darkness by Simone St. James. And those are all of my anticipated books of 2026, some of my favorite books of 2025, and books that I'm currently reading. Thank you, everyone who listened to my podcast. I'm so grateful for all the support, all the comments, all the kindness, all the authors who came on the podcast. Thank you for making time. And Happy New Year. Happy holidays, everyone. Please be kind to yourself. And I will see you in 2026. Bye.